So when you get on video and live streaming on social media, you literally just want to look into that camera and think of one person. Just think of one person that is very familiar to you, that feels good to you, that's friendly to you. It might be your spouse, it might be your favorite client, it might be your best friend. I call it the BFF effect. So you just really want to look into that camera and talk to your best friend, because that's automatically going to help you sort of calm down and not think about all the people out there that really might be watching this.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Women Worldwide. Thank you so much for tuning in, for being here, and for always sharing as much as you do. And I know that whatever wave of COVID-19 you are in, from my team and myself, we hope that you are well and staying safe. All right, let's get to our topic and special guest. The topic is video and getting your story out there. So how many of you are actually tapping into video and maybe even live streaming? Does that get you excited, or does that make you pass the opportunity to somebody else? Well, I've got a guest today who can speak to video and live streaming and really gaining clarity in your storytelling. So joining me on the show is April Pertuis. April is a storytelling and video specialist. She is the creator and she is also a writer at Light Beamers. And she has spent years as a journalist and a producer so she can help people to tell their stories and especially get in front of the camera. So I could go on and on about April, but I think it's best she shares her journey and her advice with you. So April, it's great to have you on my show. Welcome.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here. What a lovely introduction.
Well, it is great to have you, and just the opportunity to talk to a storyteller and to hear about video and somebody who's been a journalist. I think this is going to be really helpful. Before we dive into any video and live streaming, maybe you can share just a little bit about how you got to storyteller and video specialist, and Light Beamers too.
Yes, thank you. Well, like anybody, in their late 40s, which is where I am, it's been a little bit of a journey. It's never always a straight line to getting wherever we are today, right? But the gist of it is that I started out my career as a broadcast journalist working in television, so therefore video, and going out and, chasing news stories and chasing cop cars and, politicians and all of that fun stuff. And really very early on in my career, I started to notice things within myself that there were certain stories that I really loved going and getting and telling and producing. And then there were many stories that I did not. The ones that I loved were the people stories, the stories of human connection, the stories of humanity, the feel-good stories for sure, but stories that had relevance, that I felt were important to share, but didn't always have a place on the 10 o'clock or 11 o'clock news, if you will. The other stories that I did not enjoy was really chasing down, the bad stories, so to speak, stories where people had obviously made a mistake, had, a time in their life where maybe they were not the most proud, if you will. And I found that dichotomy very important to notice in my early 20s, late 20s. And eventually that really caused me and led me to leave the business of news, if you will, broadcast news, and really decide very intentionally to go after a different way of storytelling. I wanted to chase more stories of people sharing their journeys that we could witness and learn from. And so that's when I really got into producing, got into video producing, working with brands. I did a lot for a long time. Part of my career, I did a lot with large brands, helping them tell their story better through the people who sort of use their brands, consume their brands, lived out their brand. So a lot of testimonials, a lot of success stories and things like that, which always felt really good because it was just me interviewing people. Through all of that, I learned so much really about just human behavior, human experience. And I began to, again, notice trends that by and large, people were quite uncomfortable telling their story. It was a gift, right, to have a professional like me come and sit down and really pull that story out of them and know how to ask the right questions to do that. But by and large, people were always so shocked, when the story was produced and given to them. They were like, wow, that's my story.
Wow, this came from me?
Yeah. And I'm like, these are your words, not mine. So it really got me thinking more and more about just this path that I have been on to really extricate the stories from people and get people to realize that is inside of you, that those stories are inside of you, and those stories have impact on other people. And so the next evolution of my career really came about 5 years ago when I did create light beamers. This idea, I began to see trends again, social media being such a huge one, that I saw an opportunity on social media where we could be using social media in a good, positive, powerful way, as opposed to just continuing to spread news stories that were not really relevant to our human experience. And not really good for our mental psyche either. And so I decided to just package all of that experience up that I've had for the last 20 years on video, in media, telling people stories, and bring that to light beamers. So now what I do today is really helping, by and large, mostly women, but I do have a few really good men clients. But by and large, helping brands, small business owners, entrepreneurs, even just women who know they have a story to share. Maybe they're wanting to write a book or, get on the stage and share their message. Really learn how to harness the power of social media by using tools like live streaming, and learn how to share their story so that they can go and have a positive impact in the world. And so that word, light beamers, really does, to me, exemplify what happens when someone learns to properly share their story and tell their story. Is they shine a light. They shine a light out into the world, because that story becomes very useful to the audience, who will consume that story and find meaning in it, glean valuable lessons, have that, oh, thank goodness I'm not alone moment. There's a lot of things that can happen when you share your story.
Absolutely.
So that's pretty much me in a nutshell.
Well, that's a fantastic story. And I love that you yourself early on found what you loved. So finding the difference between those stories and knowing that you loved the people and the human interest, and how that you brought that out in yourself. And it's also interesting that bringing it out in yourself means you can bring that out in others as well. So thank you for sharing that. And you did mention noticing social media and bringing the positive. And I think that's where a lot of us can show where we're human and transparent, and the good that we can do, right? So focusing on the good, I think that live streaming is a tremendous opportunity. And I wonder why. So maybe you could share, what is it about video and live streaming that holds professionals back? Well, what are you hearing?
Oh, I'm hearing the same things over and over and over again. I don't like how I look on video. I don't like the sound of my voice.
Oh, I hear that.
I'm afraid that I'm going to mess up. It's live after all, so I'm going to mess up. It won't be perfect. People, why would anybody really want to listen to me anyway? I'm not that interesting. I'm boring. I've heard all of that. And I will tell you what I tell people in one answer, how to nip all of that in the bud, is I tell them, you're making the story about you. And your story should be about your audience that you're trying to reach. So stop making it about you in tough love, get over yourself, because
Right.
how you look on camera is how you look in real life. So if you're going to go meet that person for coffee, do you go with a paper bag over your face? No. So don't do it on social media either, because that's when people don't get on video. It's like wearing a paper bag over your face. You know, we had a discussion before starting this podcast that you and I are actually seeing each other. We're recording this on video so that we can see each other, right?
Yes.
We're in completely different states. We're not where we could go record this in person. So we're doing it with technology, and it's amazing. And I feel like automatically, we know each other a little bit better. I feel like I'm just having a cup of coffee with you at a local coffee shop. And so that's what you want to remember. You have the ability using live streaming to do that with your audience, but yet reach people not in your hometown, but all across the world. It is the most underutilized tool in our world today, especially on social media, is live streaming. Not enough people are using it.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I think the opportunities are opening up where you actually can. So, for example, you can go live on YouTube. You can apply for LinkedIn
Live.
Live.
Mm-hmm.
You can use Periscope to go live. StreamYard is a
That's
great
my favorite.
platform. I'm just being introduced to StreamYard because I've had some interviews recently using StreamYard, and I'm going to use it myself for something that I'm doing. And I just feel like once you get a professional to see the value, and maybe to get over this, you're not going to put a bag over your head when you meet someone in person. So what does it matter? How do you get them warmed up and just a little more comfortable? Maybe just some tips.
Yeah. I tell everybody that, again, it's kind of that coffee shop mentality. Just like you would go and meet a client or a potential new client or somebody that you wanted to do business with, or just meet somebody new to maybe network, right? You're just meeting one person. It's just, or a couple of people, but you're just having that intimate conversation. So when you get on video and live streaming on social media, you literally just want to look into that camera and think of one person. Just think of one person that is very familiar to you, that feels good to you, that's friendly to you. It might be your spouse. It might be your favorite client. It might be your best friend. I call it the BFF effect. So you just really want to look into that camera and talk to your best friend, because that's automatically going to help you sort of calm down and not think about all the people out there that really might be watching this eventually, and really just help you not think about all of those eyeballs. Instead of you're just thinking of that one person. When I first started my career as a television journalist, this was many, 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 many years ago, long before social media, but obviously television stations have had the capability to go live for a very long time. When my very first, well, actually it was my very second job in television. The first TV station that I worked for did not own the sat trucks and the live trucks. They didn't have the capability to do it because they didn't have the money to do it. The next station that I went to did, and I had to suddenly learn how to go and give my reports live from the scene, right? Live from the scene. And I was so nervous because I had never done this before. I had never given a report live. I always had a chance to come back and package it up and make it nice and neat and make it really professional. So I worried about all those same things. Like, what if I mess up? What if I stumble over my words? What if it doesn't, what if I don't, look professional enough? All of those things I worried about as well. But when I worried about them and let those things trip me up, what happened was I ended up truly bombing. I really did not do a good job, And so the news director that I had at the time, he kept sending me out. He kept sending me out and he kept sending me out. And every day I would come to work just with a pit in my stomach, knowing he's going to make me go do it again. I know he is. And he did. Because he knew the secret. The secret was, you have to keep doing it. You have to keep practicing. And when you do it, eventually you will get over yourself and you'll just go do your job, right? You'll just go share the message. And within about a week or so, I really did. I kind of had to have, what I call a come to Jesus moment with myself, because I was like, what is wrong with me? I'm going to lose my job if I don't get over this problem. And my neck would turn red. My mouth would get all cotton mouthy. And I realized I was just so worried about my own performance that I wasn't really communicating my message. And I think that is a relevant issue today. You need to remember it's not about you. It's really just about trying to connect with the other human being that's on the other side of that camera, which again, if you just think of one person, it makes it so much easier.
That's such a great point. I mean, I always like to think that when we're out there sharing stories or thought leadership, and when you're going live or whatever you're doing, it is the goal to help somebody else. And when you
Yes.
think that way, and I can totally relate to the pick your BFF, who you're picturing in your mind, because it does, it gives you a sense of calm and also a little bit of positive self-talk too.
Yeah.
How you show up. It's really good that you had somebody who had faith in you and said,
Mhm.
keep doing it till you get it right. I think also what you tell yourself is what happens. So if we can all step back and say, hey, I see I'm going to do a good job. And with this one, I'm going to have more energy and it's going to flow. I do believe that beforehand, if you can picture it, then that's what's going to happen.
Yeah, and that's, a few other things that I tell people too is even just like to kind of boost that energy, even if you have to kind of trick yourself sometimes into feeling that energy if you're feeling really nervous, right? So I tell people like literally before you go live, get at your desk, do some jumping jacks. Literally do some jumping jacks because
Right.
it will get the blood pumping. The other thing is like I'm sitting down right now, and I know a lot of us are typically sitting down at our computers or in front of our phones. During the day, if you're going to get on social media and go live, you might be sitting down. Stand up, position your camera, position your phone or computer where you can actually stand up. Because when you stand up, that energy has a place to go. It, goes up and down your body instead of just going down into the pit of your stomach like it does when you're sitting down. And
That's really
so
good.
those are a couple of other things that will really, really help. And one of the most simple pieces of advice that I always give, and people laugh, but they know it's true, is I tell people, smile.
Yeah.
Remember to smile. When you smile, you also are telling your internal body, your psyche, oh, okay, everything's actually okay here. There's nothing to worry about. I can calm down, right? Because she's smiling, she's happy, she's looking forward to this. So smiling is, another little neuro trick that you can do and then of course, when you smile and people see you on camera, they're automatically, what happens when you watch someone else smile? Automatically you
Smile.
smile back. You can't help it.
Exactly.
It's impossible.
Right. It's
So
your
it
neurons.
really is a way to disarm the viewer as well and bring them into the fold a little bit closer with you.
Oh, that's really good. So what about challenges? Let's face it, we're in the middle of a global
Mhm.
pandemic and professionals have had to adjust and
Yep.
change the way that they run their households, their businesses. So are you facing any challenges in terms of the way that you're working, or maybe you were even set up beforehand to do remote work?
I have been remote for a very long time. So I feel like I was prepared and ready, which I'm super grateful for. I think that there's a lot of things about the pandemic that have been very hard and challenging and, destructive in a lot of ways, even, right, with people's health and a
Right.
lot of other finances, a lot of things like that. However, I also see this as one of the greatest gifts because it's challenged us to all look at a different way of doing things. And maybe, just maybe, doing things differently, you might discover doing things better, more
Right.
efficiently, reaching more people. So many business owners and brands and companies and organizations have been forced to figure out a virtual plan for their business. They have to reach their clients virtually now in order to continue to build and grow. And so you don't have the luxury of going for those coffee appointments or going to those networking meetings or meeting up with a client in person to work with them. We're all having to turn to, the virtual experience and Zoom and things like that, live streaming, right? Social media.
Right.
So this is a great opportunity to dive in. It might feel like a challenge, but you're going to learn a lot in the process. You're going to learn what works and what doesn't work. You're going to reach your clients and potential clients in a whole new way. that a lot of really good things can come out of it, but nothing will come out of it if you don't try it, right? Nothing is ever going to come out of it unless you start. So yeah, there's challenges, but I also think there's great, great opportunities right now for businesses.
Well, that is really positive, and we need positive. And I think that there's a point that you made with people learning, taking that first step. So now, well, I've been on video like you, so I've always had the remote calls. But now that businesses are doing that, if you can get on video with your colleagues or your clients or different audiences, that's that next step to, well, if I do that, I can share my story. I could go live. I could take media interviews by video. So it is that step, and seeing the positive and the better. I really like that. So, I can't even believe that we're at that point where I asked the parting, the advice to kind of round it out. April, just share with us, how other people can take those steps to better storytelling and to really bring their all, whether it's through any kind of medium, but hopefully video.
I think it's just really start simple, start small, just as you said, just start by showing up. Maybe it is just turning on your camera during your next Zoom call instead of staying hidden. And challenging yourself to do a live stream if you've never done one, to challenge yourself to record a video next time you want to send a client a message instead of texting them or emailing them or sending them a direct message on social media. Record that video. All of the social media channels now allow you to send video messages. So send a video message. Do you know how wowed your clients or your potential clients will be by the fact that you showed up in their email inbox or their text message via video? Because again, you're making that human connection when you allow them to see your face, and that human connection is what's building those relationships. It's not the transactions, right? You have to get away from thinking about the transaction and instead focus on the relationship building, and video can do that for you. Sharing a little story with them. Again, I work with so many clients on helping them identify some good stories to share with their audience and how to make them all relevant. So thinking of just maybe a challenge that you've experienced during this time of COVID-19 and how you've been able to overcome that challenge, share an inspirational message with your audience, because that's what we all need right now. We are gravitating towards people who make us feel good. And those are the people we want to follow. And those are the people that we want to do business with. So use your channels and your voice and your communication in very intentional and positive ways to show up for people and be there for them and say, hey, it's been a crazy town over here too, but this is what I'm doing that's working. And maybe if I share this with you today, you'll find some wisdom to maybe incorporate something similar. It's not a transaction. It's not like, hey, let me show up in your DM so that I can get some business from you. No, it's showing that you're a human and that you care. Those are just really simple things that someone could do to get started.
Simple yet so powerful. Take that next step. Share inspiration. It's about the relationship, not the transaction. Excellent advice, April. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, so last question, super easy. Where can people find out more about you and your work at Light Beamers?
I'm pretty easy to find. I am at lightbeamers.com, LIGHTBEAMERS. And I am at Light Beamers on all of the social media channels. I primarily hang out on Instagram and Facebook. I am on LinkedIn as well, but that's really where I'm active, is on Facebook and Instagram. I find that especially Facebook for me has been great for community building. I have a private community on Facebook called the Light Beamers Community. I actually have an open invitation to anyone who wants to join that community, because on Wednesdays I open up that community and I give a prompt, a storytelling prompt. and I invite every person in there to go live that day. We don't have rules around you can't live stream. We invite people to live stream specifically on Wednesdays because I wanted to create a place where it would be safe and comfortable and private for you to show up on video for the first time, press, that live stream button for the first time without worrying about it's going out to your public audience. And so you can come in there and get some practice with us and get some love and feedback and support. And we give prompts so that you don't have to think about what would you talk about with your audience that day. So many people struggle with that. Well, I could go live, but what am I going to talk about? Well, I give you all the things to talk about in that group. So I love that I've been able to build community around this as well, because what's happened inside that group is as people have shown up on video and shown up sharing their stories week to week, guess what has unfolded? Unbelievable magic with each other, right? They're meeting people. They're connecting with people just inside of our group. They're building business with each other. They're doing business with each other. They're connecting them with other people in their networks. Like, it has been the most powerful way to build community is just by sharing our stories and getting visible. So that's another place that I really, really, really hang out is inside that group.
Well, love, support, business, community, all good. April, thank you so much for coming on the show, for sharing your journey, your advice. Just thank you for your time and all of your insights.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been a delight.
Oh, you're welcome. And thank you to all of you for tuning into Women Worldwide. So if you want to see us on video, make sure you subscribe to the Deirdre Breckenridge channel. And of course, if you want Women Worldwide updates, you can go to our website, womenworldwideshow.com, and you can sign up to get updates weekly. All right, friends, until our next episode, be well, and please stay focused, energized, and feeling empowered. Thank you.